Don't skip. Love is one of the most powerful and beautiful emotions bestowed upon us by Allah. It is a blessing that can fill our hearts with joy, peace, and gratitude. However, it is also a test that can challenge our faith, patience, and sincerity. How we handle love, whether it is towards Allah, ourselves, or others, reflects our level of understanding and submission to Islam. Many people today are obsessed with finding love or someone who will love them. They seek validation, attention, and affection from others, often compromising their values, dignity, and self-respect. They beg for love and, in doing so, lose themselves. They forget that the only true and lasting love is the love of Allah, and the only way to attain it is by following His guidance and obeying His commands. In this video, we will share 7 Islamic ways to never beg for love and have everything naturally. These are not tips or tricks to manipulate or attract others, but rather principles and practices to purify and elevate ourselves. By applying these ways, we will not only improve our relationship with Allah but also with ourselves and others. We will avoid the pitfalls of forcing love and enjoy the fruits of natural love. Lesson 01: Love Allah first and foremost. The first and most important way to never beg for love is to love Allah first and foremost. Allah is the source of all love, and He is the most loving and the most worthy of love. He says in the Quran, "And of His signs is that He created for you from yourselves mates that you may find tranquility in them, and He placed between you affection and mercy. Indeed, in that are signs for a people who give thought." Allah created us in pairs and placed love and mercy between us. This is a sign of His wisdom and mercy and a means of our happiness and comfort. But this does not mean that we should make our spouses or partners the center of our lives or the ultimate goal of our existence. Rather, we should make Allah the center of our lives and the ultimate goal of our existence. We should love Him more than anything else and seek His pleasure above all else. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Whoever loves for Allah, hates for Allah, gives for Allah, and withholds for Allah has perfected his faith." Abu Dawud. This means that we should base our love and hate, our giving and withholding, on what pleases or displeases Allah. When we love Allah first and foremost, we will never beg for love from anyone. We will be content with what He has given us and trust in what He has decreed for us. We will not attach our hearts to anyone or anything other than Him, and we will not fear losing anyone or anything besides Him. We will not be needy, desperate, or insecure, but rather confident, grateful, and dignified. Lesson 02: Love yourself for the sake of Allah. The second way to never beg for love is to love yourself for the sake of Allah. Allah created us in the best of forms and honored us above many of His creatures. He says in the Quran, "We have certainly created man in the best of stature, and we have certainly honored the children of Adam and carried them on the land and sea and provided for them of the good things, and preferred them over much of what we have created with definite preference." Allah created us with dignity and honor, and He provided us with many blessings and favors. He gave us intellect, will, and choice, and He guided us to the straight path. He sent us messengers and revealed to us books, and He made us the best of nations. He says in the Quran, "You are the best nation produced, as an example, for mankind. You enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong and believe in Allah." Allah loves us, and He wants us to love ourselves. He does not want us to hate, harm, or degrade ourselves. He wants us to respect, protect, and elevate ourselves. He wants us to love ourselves for His sake and to love what He loves in us and to hate what He hates in us. When we love ourselves for the sake of Allah, we will never beg for love from anyone. We will not seek validation, attention, or affection from others, but rather from Allah. We will not depend on others for our happiness, worth, or identity, but rather on Allah. We will not let others define, control, or abuse us, but rather we will define, control, and respect ourselves. Lesson 03: Love others for the sake of Allah. The third way to never beg for love is to love others for the sake of Allah. Allah created us as social beings and made us into nations and tribes, relatives, and friends. He says in the Quran, "O mankind, indeed we have created you from male and female and made you peoples and tribes that you may know one another. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous of you. Indeed, Allah is knowing and acquainted." Allah created us to know, cooperate with, and love one another. He says in the Quran, "The believers are but brothers, so make settlement between your brothers. And fear Allah that you may receive mercy, and hold firmly to the rope of Allah altogether and do not become divided. And remember the favor of Allah upon you when you were enemies and He brought your hearts together, and you became by His favor brothers." Allah loves us, and He wants us to love others. He does not want us to hate, harm, or oppress others. He wants us to be kind, help, and forgive others. He wants us to love others for His sake and to love what He loves in them and to hate what He hates in them. When we love others for the sake of Allah, we will never beg for love from anyone. We will not expect, demand, or attach any conditions to our love. We will love purely, sincerely, and selflessly for the pleasure of Allah. We will love with wisdom, justice, and compassion for the benefit of others. We will love with patience, gratitude, and trust for the reward of Allah. Lesson 04: Love what is good and hate what is evil. The fourth way to never beg for love is to love what is good and hate what is evil. Allah is the source of all good, and He loves what is good. He says in the Quran, "Indeed, Allah loves those who do good, and indeed, Allah loves the doers of justice, and indeed, Allah loves those who are constantly repentant and loves those who purify themselves." Allah is also the source of all justice, and He hates what is evil. He says in the Quran, "Indeed, Allah does not like transgressors." Allah loves us, and He wants us to love what is good and hate what is evil. He does not want us to love what is harmful, hate what is beneficial, or be indifferent to what is right or wrong. He wants us to be guided by His revelation, follow His messenger, and adhere to His law. He wants us to love what He loves and hate what He hates. When we love what is good and hate what is evil, we will never beg for love from anyone. We will not compromise our values, principles, or morals to please others. We will not follow the whims, trends, or fashions of the ignorant and misguided. We will not be influenced by peer pressure, media, or society that promotes evil and discourages good. Lesson 05: Love with moderation and balance. The fifth way to never beg for love is to love with moderation and balance. Allah created us with emotions and made us capable of feeling love, but He also warned us against exceeding the limits in our love. He says in the Quran, "And of the people is he who takes other than Allah as equals to Him. They love them as they should love Allah. But those who believe are stronger in love for Allah. And if only they who have wronged would consider that when they see the punishment, they will be certain that all power belongs to Allah and that Allah is severe in punishment." Allah does not want us to love anyone or anything more than, equal to, or besides Him. He does not want us to worship, associate, or depend on anyone or anything other than Him. He wants us to love Him with all our hearts, love others for His sake, and love what brings us closer to Him. Allah also does not want us to love anyone or anything to the extent that it harms, distracts, or leads us astray. He does not want us to be obsessed, addicted, or infatuated with anyone or anything. He wants us to love with wisdom, reason, and faith. He wants us to love with moderation, balance, and harmony. When we love with moderation and balance, we will never beg for love from anyone. We will not be desperate, clingy, or needy for anyone's love. We will not be jealous, possessive, or controlling of anyone's love. We will not be heartbroken, depressed, or suicidal if we lose anyone's love. We will love with dignity, respect, and honor. Lesson 06: Love for the sake of the hereafter. The sixth way to never beg for love is to love for the sake of the hereafter. Allah created us for a noble purpose and made us accountable for our deeds. He says in the Quran, "And I did not create the jinn and mankind except to worship me, and then did you think that we created you uselessly and that to us you would not be returned?" Allah created us to worship Him, and He will reward us for our worship. He says in the Quran, "Indeed, those who have believed and done righteous deeds, they will have the gardens of paradise as a lodging, wherein they will abide eternally. They will not desire from it any transfer, but those who feared their Lord will have gardens beneath which rivers flow, abiding eternally therein as accommodation from Allah. And that which is with Allah is best for the righteous." Allah loves us, and He wants us to love for the sake of the hereafter. He does not want us to love for the sake of this world, be attached to this world, or be deceived by this world. He wants us to love what will benefit us in the hereafter, avoid what will harm us in the hereafter, and prepare for the hereafter. He wants us to love for His sake, love what He has prepared for us, and love those who will be with us. When we love for the sake of the hereafter, we will never beg for love from anyone. We will not be attached, addicted, or obsessed with anyone or anything in this world. We will not be sad, worried, or afraid of losing anyone or anything in this world. We will not be distracted, diverted, or deluded by anyone or anything in this world. We will love with hope, faith, and certainty. Lesson 07: Love with the guidance of the Quran and the Sunnah. The seventh and final way to never beg for love is to love with the guidance of the Quran and the Sunnah. Allah revealed the Quran as a guidance, mercy, and healing for the believers. He says in the Quran, "This is the book about which there is no doubt, a guidance for those conscious of Allah, and we send down of the Quran that which is healing and mercy for the believers, but it does not increase the wrongdoers except in loss." Allah also sent the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as an example, mercy, and blessing for the worlds. He says in the Quran, "There has certainly been for you in the Messenger of Allah an excellent pattern for anyone whose hope is in Allah and the Last Day, and who remembers Allah often, and we have not sent you, O Muhammad, except as a mercy to the worlds." Allah loves us, and He wants us to love with the guidance of the Quran and the Sunnah. He does not want us to love with ignorance, innovation, or deviation. He wants us to love with knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. He wants us to love with the words, actions, and manners of the Quran and the Sunnah. When we love with the guidance of the Quran and the Sunnah, we will never beg for love from anyone. We will not be confused, misguided, or misled by anyone or anything. We will not be influenced, corrupted, or deceived by anyone or anything. We will not be divided, conflicted, or disputed by anyone or anything. We will love with unity, harmony, and peace. Conclusion and key takeaways. These are the 7 Islamic ways to never beg for love and have everything naturally. These are the ways of the believers, the righteous, and the successful. These are the ways of the lovers of Allah and the followers of His Messenger. These are the ways of the art of not forcing love but rather enjoying the natural love that Allah has created for us. We hope that this video has inspired, motivated, and touched you. We hope that you will apply these ways in your life and share them with others. We hope that you will love Allah, yourself, and others in the best and most beautiful way. We hope that you will never beg for love but rather have everything naturally. May Allah bless you and grant you His love, the love of those who love Him, and the love of the deeds that bring you closer to His love. Ameen.